Yo, here we are. Weed for the People, podcast 10. The one and only Bree is here with us. I'm just going to start off by doing a tiny little intro. We're just saying before we went on, drama in the office, fucking all sorts of shit always going wrong. So we got to always compartmentalize, get in the zone, drop some heat for y'all for this hour. Look, I mean, I'll just say it. It's just the way these municipalities are just fucking terrible. Hopefully by the time this airs, we'll be signed off. So I'm not talking too much shit. We think we're going to open our Costa Mesa. And I've talked about this before. We think we're going to open our Costa Mesa on Friday. And 6 different departments have approved this parking plan after much review. And we get an inspector that comes out there. And guess what? It's fucking 3 or 5 degrees off. Like nobody's going to know. Nobody's going to die. It's going to be perfectly fine. So now we got to go through all 6 departments again to get this little thing signed off. So it's at least a 10-day, 2-week penalty. Hopefully we could sit on them on Monday because naturally they're fucking closed on Friday. And look, this isn't unique to Costa Mesa. Technically the guy's right. I'm not going to beat up on him. So I'm going to try to run a dispensary there, maybe a little bit. And, look, same thing. We're going to do 7 dispensaries in 7 weeks. I'm pretty fucking proud of that. But, look, same thing in Stanton. We had a grading issue. We're just getting that last little bit worked out. Oxnard. They try to make us do this crazy fire line, go way down. It was going to be $400,000. We negotiated that. We marked all the lines. They're on site, unmarked line. So now, whatever, they've approved our plan. But guess what? It's a week or 2 before they sign off on it, before we can start doing the work again. So each one of these doors that open, the customer just sees an open door. So much of this shit's been happening since 2020. You're just looking at the tip of the iceberg. And in this game, you just got to take your licks and keep moving. But it does seem like, and look, I don't want to beat on the municipal government, especially when I'm about to operate, we are about to operate a dispensary in their city. But I mean, something's got to give. This just death by 1,000 cuts is too much. Anyway, I'm going to put all the negativity to the side. We're going to keep it positive. We got Bree here, the OG-ette, as I call her. She's been with us from the beginning. I'm going to give a little bit of the history. You know what? I'm going to start a different way. I'm going to let Bree give a little bit of the history and then, how she ended up, where she ended up. She's been with us since the Connected days, worked her way all the way up. I think she's one of the most valuable people that we have in the entire organization. She really is the centerpiece of the culture, knows what's going on. If you want to get your product on the shelf, Bree's the gatekeeper. And by the way, she's a weed Nazi. I say that in the best definition of the word.
Connoisseur.
Connoisseur, yes.
Not Nazi.
I bring a few things her way. We'll get into it later. Trash. But anyway, so when did you start? Obviously, it was the Connected days. When did you start exactly? And, how did you decide to jump into, joining up with the Connected team?
Well, I started in the industry when I was 18 at just like local dispensaries around Long Beach. Long Beach kept getting raided and shut down. We opened up a shop in Pedro. I was there for 3-4 years before we got shut down. We thought we were going to be grandfathered in. I thought I was completely done. We had gotten raided. Our lawyer said we couldn't work in the industry for a while. And then Cookies was opening up in OC. And I was like, oh my God, they're opening a Long Beach store. And at that time, Cookies was just dominating the industry. So I was really excited to get my foot in the door there. Got hired by Nate Davitt, not Avila. At Cookies, we switched over very quickly to Connected. So that was kind of a, little crazy time. Burner was dropping Connected.
I forgot that story with the Cookies. I'll tell a little history on that one too.
Yeah, so it was kind of a little wild ride, like with our first transition into Connected. Love the Connected team. But we were kind of disconnected with them all being NorCal and us having such a SoCal presence. Then you hired a horrible.
All right, let me give a little history, and then we'll get to where we got. I actually forgot. I mean, I didn't forget, but that Santa Ana store was actually originally a Cookies store. So there was a Cookies Connected breakup, which predates really our involvement. And just a little bit of history. The Santa Ana store, I always consider Belmont Shore our first store, but I did own 10% of the Santa Ana store when we first got it. The Connected guys, who were Cookies at the time, kind of in the middle of a breakup. And that became rebranded as a Connected. As we opened up the other stores, we called them all Connected. They rebranded that as a Connected. And then, we ended up going our separate ways, but it has for a little bit, but all amicable, all love. But I did forget that we like when we were first joining up with Connected, they were in their little breakup phase.
Yeah, Connected wasn't even like a retail. It was all cookies, and even Belmont was supposed to be a cookie.
Cookies, right? Yeah, I forgot. So then, the first store we open is I always, say is Belmont Shore, but really after, we decided kind of to run things down here. We did some trades. We had some grows up there. They had the Santa Ana store down here. So that's actually, I would never consider that buying. We never really bought a store, but in so much as we did, that would be the one where we kind of swapped some NorCal grows for that. So a little bit of interesting history. Anyway, shout out to Connected. They're our forefathers in this game. I always say that we're their bastard spawn. And I say that in the best way possible. Mad love for, Caleb. And again, to Bree's point, it was a lot of distance for them to cover. So, I think they were scaling a lot at that time. And, sometimes that leads to difficulties. So our next best idea where we really shit the bed, and
you
go ahead.
Shit the bed on that one.
I'm taking it. Go ahead, throw some shit under the bus. Let's get it out there.
So we hired Hijazi and his team. Not all of them were bad, but it just seemed very disconnected from the culture, from what our whole movement was trying to be about, just everything. And I remember I kept reaching out to my old Connected guy, and I'm just like, I don't know what the fuck, they're ruining it. And then I remember when you called me up to your office, I was like, the fuck did I do? I haven't done anything wrong. And I'm like Googling all the people that you had like in our Google invite, and Damien was one of them. So I'm like, a lawyer, what the fuck did I do? And then we wiped them all out, like the entire team, and just fucking really slimmed down. I think we went from 12 to 1, and then we just slowly started bringing up like all of our OGs. And I think it was like one of the best decisions we've made.
Yeah, no, I think, so this is a little more history. And look, I don't go out of my way to, I just kind of let it be. But since we're here and we're talking shit, we're just going to say what really happened. Look, he could call it what he wants to call it, but taking 30 grand for your fucking cousins and everybody else a month, not fucking disclosing it, I call that fucking stealing, right? And then, beyond that, when we got into our dispute, fucking accused my wife of fraud. Go ahead, look up the fucking the legal case. Accused her of an illegal grow in YOLO, which was fully licensed at that time. And then, I know the topic of snitching has been thrown around. Straight snitch to grow. I wasn't part of it, but I think he thinks I was. Anyway, whoever was involved in Sid Grow was able to clear it out in the nick of time. So that's, a little bit of the history. I'd be happy to debate on that history anytime, anywhere. But so what happens is we realize like, we got to get rid of this motherfucker. We're going to do this shit ourselves. Usually when I tell the story, I actually skip over the Hijazi part of it. But like, that's a no-go zone for me. But anyway, so we're like, okay, what are we going to do here? If we're going to do this ourselves, we better do it ourselves. And Nate D likes to take credit for this to this day, but we're like, hey, who's really the product expert here, right? I'd like to smoke my weed and shit, but I don't claim to be a ganjier or anything like that, right? So we're like, hey, who are we going to get to do the purchasing, right? So we figured we could kind of cover the rest of the basis. That was going to be the hard part. And I was, real friendly with Nate D at that point. He did recommend Bree, who we already had a lot of love and respect for. She's doing a great job over there. So we call her up. Was Damien there?
No, it was just you and I, but in the original invite.
Yeah. So that was our plan. All right, we're going to throw a motherfucking coup here. Yeah. What do we need to throw a coup? I actually forgot a little bit about this. I'm glad we don't prep too much because funny shit comes out. So we call you up and then, what's going on in your mind? Like, the fuck's going to go down here? So.
Yeah, well, I hadn't done anything wrong, so I wasn't like nervous. I was thinking maybe our store was about to get audited. There was some reason why I was having to go to talk to my CEO and a legal team. I think Blake and Natasha had like some compliance background. So I was like, this is fucking interesting, but never once did I imagine we were fucking about to wipe out our entire headquarter team. Glad we did though.
Yeah, so we did. We pulled a nice coup. By the way, since then, every store they ran, triple, quadruple numbers. But Bree's been a critical part of that. And then keep in mind, back in those days, our HQ, we had this little hole in the wall. It was just me, then Damien. My brother would get the real estate. And then we had Blake and Natasha. So that was our whole crew. And then Bree really was, next woman up to do the purchasing and really like couldn't have picked a better person, to be part of the purchasing team. And, we've just been blessed to have her there. So let me ask you some general questions. By the way, all the DMs that go to me, really, they should go to Bree. And I always like chuckle, I do like the free weed at events. Guys will roll up, they'll show me their weed. And I know good weed, bad weed, right? Whatever. It's just pretty easy. But like, I'm not going to be able to say like, hey, this is going to be priced at this or this is going to be priced at that. Just not my expertise. But I always chuckle. I'm like, I better put this in a safe place so I could bring it to Bree tomorrow. By the way, if you're watching, I still do like the free weed and I'll smoke it there with you. But, so brands, it's one of the hardest things that we have to deal with. We just cut, I think we went from 159 to 125 just because it's really hard to carry brands that aren't moving a lot. And, I'll start with the first question, which is, how do we decide who we're going to get onto the shelf? Like, how do they get their foot in the door? And then I think the more important question, and I say this a lot, but I'll ask them both at the same time, is, everybody thinks like, oh, I got in. Nah, that's just like the first yard in a 100-yard dash. So, why are certain brands successful and what's happened? So you're a brand, you're out there, there's 20,000 of them I hear. You want to get into the Catalyst shelf. What's the best way to go about it?
The one thing that I'm really happy about our shelves is we've had a lot of the same brands for a while. I'm really proud of all the small farms that we support, the legacy growers that we support, our social equity brands. We've really tried to uplift the small ones and always looking for like the small garden that we can, grab as much weed as we can from. So I'm always looking for quality. There's so much. I feel so horrible. I get blown up constantly. And I think everyone's like, why don't you want to take on my product? Or why aren't you putting your faith in me? And it's not that, but it's like, I have so much. And so many of these brands are exact replicas of the next. There's not really anything, but there's even some brands that I've like pushed back on and they've, I'm like, nah, shit sucks, but people love it. So it is what it is. There's some brands out there I'd never smoke myself, but to each their own. So I'm always looking for like brands that, grow their own. Not to say anything against white labeling, but I just feel like I get a more consistent and longevity out of those ones than I have with the white labels. It seems like those kind of come and go quicker. The story, a lot of times it's like what the brand talks about too is very important. What they stand for. We're always trying to have that kind of align with what we're looking for. And then always, there's always new categories coming out. Every couple quarters, there's something new. And then our shoppers are very price cautious. So I always have to be very price cautious and kind of what will work on our shelves and what won't. So I'm always very transparent with people on kind of where we are, where my head is with their product too. Is it worth it to keep calling me, or maybe just give it a break until you have a new product to come show me? And so I've tried to just be very transparent with everyone. We currently we have about 130 brands that we're always communicating with. And then I probably have like an easy 400 trying to get on at any and all times. So DMs are a little crazy to get to. I try to, but email's always the best, purchasing at catalystcannabis.co. I can just stay more organized on my communication there. DM, once I open it, it's kind of gone. I'm not like you giving out my number to everyone because
they kind of get lost too. I try, but and then I'm the worst offender. It is actually one of the hardest things. And Bree probably knows even more than me, where it's like, hey, we love what you guys are doing. We see you out there doing your thing. We're a small farmer too. And like in a perfect world, man, I wish we could put 1,000 people on.
Me too.
It's just so hard to be able to narrow it down. And then, the other side of that coin is we've developed loyalties too. So like whatever the category is, it's like, do you really want to start bringing on too many competitors to that person who's like been down with you since day one and given the good pricing? The other thing that I think Bree does amazing at is she just kills them with kindness, right? So, we try to pass the price on the best we can. We do, right? We basically mark up everybody the same. But, we also got to be able to keep the lights on. So, Bree does a really good job in the sweetest, nicest way possible of getting the price down. Let's move on to success. So obviously the product has to be there, right?
Yeah.
But I've made a lot of commentary on this, but I think it's important for, anybody who's watching, who's a brand, to see it from another perspective. What do you think the key ingredients to success are, right? We've seen different brands rise and fall. I mean, a lot. Some have rised and fallen and re-risen. Some have just fallen off. They're gone. Some have slowly are grinding away. They're still increasing. What do you attribute, a lot of that to?
I think their budtender engagement is huge. However much they're engaging with our stores, like I can love a product when my budtenders love it. It makes my life so much easier because they're passionate about it. They're talking about it. They're selling it. And once they actually try something, it's game over versus them trying to kind of explain something they haven't yet tried. So, when we were doing the sessions, I think that was really just helping the budtenders being able to really touch more product and being able to times are tough. People really can't afford super expensive stuff, especially, our staff. So they're always super gracious to kind of interact with owners, I think owners have a huge play in it. Once they really get to know them, they want to support them and support their brand. Consistency, I can't even name how many people we've brought on and then I'm blowing them up to like get their product gone. I'm like, what happened? They were calling me every hour to get on the shelves and now I can't get a hold of them. So like we said, we can bring you on, but we can't sell your product. Just trying to make sure that we can showcase the best. That's been kind of a problem where we're reeling back with brands is we just physically don't have big enough stores, so trying to get all the SKUs showcased, really giving all of our brands a fair chance. And then it got to the point where we had too many brands and everyone was getting too small orders. So we wanted to scale back and really continue to grow those relationships, the ones that we do have. But I've noticed the most success with the ones is the ones that we always see out there with us that are arm in arm with us because our budtenders see that kind of relationship and they want to kind of keep supporting that. They see who we fuck with and they're like, oh, okay, like what's new? What's coming now? Bree, can you get me this? Like our staff's always sending me DMs of like new product they want to try, brands, SKUs. I'm like, yeah, show them to me. Because I always tell brands, if you win them over, you just make my life so much easier. I can plug in, put you in the pieces, but I need you to really like help do the work. So I think success is definitely engaging with the brands. It's not just enough to send me a PO.
Yeah, then I think too, look, I'm not saying that there's no value to, macro marketing, but I think there's very little. And to Bree's point, the ones that have done good on our shelf, look, I think there's some commonalities across shelves, but I think we have some things that are super unique to us that, you might not see pop up on Headset as the top one or top two or top five even, but they're the top or a couple tops on ours. And it's really just that consistency and then, becoming part of the culture, which really is the budtender. By the way, the sessions are coming back. So I want to get into another kind of a cool topic. I think we got about half the HC. I'm figuring this shit out. The red light, bing, I go right there. So half the I think our staff or so at HQ is women, which I think is fairly unique. And this is not like something we planned. It's just how it came to be. And we have quite a few moms. So you've had I'm going to tell one funny story. And then I'll ask you how you balance the mom and the work life, because I think it's an important part of being a mom and those that want to have a career. I think you set a good example of how you pull that shit off. So, when Bree first gets pregnant, she's like, I don't know, maybe halfway through it. I think she's debating, does she want to go full-time mom or not? I think there was like a tiny minute window where like, maybe for a week you were going to just go full-time mom, having the debate. So she wants to talk, and anytime an employee wants to talk, same thing. I'm like, oh shit, here we go. What happened? Did somebody fuck around? Is fucking, so sometimes it's for a raise, which is fine. And I'm like, okay, sounds kind of serious. So I get a card. This is just funny ass shit. And it says, I get it. I open it up and I'm like, it's not my fucking birthday. Like, what's going on? Right. So it says, sorry for your loss. And I'm like, what? And she's having a baby and she's going to, at that point, I think she was thinking she was going to take a little more time off. And I just thought that was funny as shit. So,
no, you quit.
Yeah, you basically did quit. I was trying to, slow roll it a little bit. But I think in the end, we chatted a little more and it was like, hey, whatever you need, we support our moms. Anybody who knows me knows this is kind of a random thing to say, but I try to interview everybody. Now I've gotten more into doing group interviews, but our best workers at the stores, generalizing here, I think I could say this, a lot of times the moms are some of the best workers we have because, you can keep a baby alive. You ain't gonna no call, no show. You're gonna show up, you get your paycheck, you have that responsibility, and you have that extra little thing, again, generalizing, but it's kind of a real thing where you're gonna try to make a better life for your kids. So anyway, you decide to come back, just kind of like the 2-week period, and we're like, hey, we'll make it work, right? Especially everybody's got to understand, Bree fucking knows everybody, right? She really is the culture, right? And how is it that, we made it work, and we always go out of our way for our moms. And look, maybe I'm old school. This probably get me in trouble a little bit. Like, I think there's some California law. If the dads need 2 weeks, we have to give it to them. So we do, if they ask. It's going to get me in trouble. But the moms, I'm like, take as much time as you need, work from home. Cause I have 4 of my own kids. And my wife, that's her gift in life, among other things, but really what she was born to be as a mom. And you see how those babies, bond to their mothers, and it's super important. So, no matter who it is, whether it was Lily or you, have a baby, want to make sure that if they have enough time to be able to work from home, take the time with their baby. But how's it been? Little Emma, by the way, cutest little thing ever.
Dopest little baby ever. I'm so lucky for that. I'm like, every time I look at her, I'm just like, she's so fucking cool. Like, I knew that was going to happen, but she has been such an amazing child. And I think that's what really helped me coming back into the position. Shout out to the moms that have like difficult pregnancies, hard babies. Like, I do not take my experience for granted whatsoever, but I was really lucky. Like, by 2.5 months, my daughter was sleeping through the night. So I didn't know how much time I was going to take off, but my biggest fear was I didn't have help. So I didn't even think juggling working from home and doing that was going to work. So I was like, maybe when the kid's 5, I'll come back, But then once we started talking and you're like, we'll make it work, So I was like, all right, let's just test it out. I was very transparent. If it's too hard for me, I will gladly step down. I never wanted to do anything to jeopardize the business. But luckily, I was back 3 months later. She was sleeping through the night. It was really easy for me to get back in the groove of everything. Once she started crawling, that's, I think, when things definitely got a little crazy for me, but she's just such an amazing child and I really love being able to have my job too. So it's kind of like I have my own thing and then I can come home. My husband's in the industry. We can kind of, we relate on so many different things, and then having my daughter. So I really am able to find a healthy balance for everything. I think I do have a mental breakdown once a week. I don't sleep, but that's kind of one of the things. If you want to be a full-time mom and working full-time, you just got to give up one thing, and sleep was what I had to give up. So
no, it's really cool. And I think for us, it's super important that, look, none of us would be here without a mom. That bond is critical. So, just as an employer, and, I think also having seen my own 4 kids and how they were, so attached to their mothers. They still are today. I'm starting to get a few of the boys a little bit more, but they still need their mama. But at the end of the day, like, that bond is so important. And like, why should you be penalized for just happening to be part of, it's incredible what the moms do to raise the baby. And, it's I always say it's the one thing that there is no scientific explanation for, right? You're just rolling around. Yeah, we know that the egg fertilizes the seed. We know how it all happens. But when that life comes out in the consciousness, it's some mind-blowing shit. It changes your life forever. So we've been very happy that we've been able to work. And as long as I'm, CEO, I think that's an important message to anybody out there. Like, you could do both. And like, look, we need our moms to raise our babies up and, have, build strong men and women. And that bond's super important. And then, who wants to try to replace somebody that is essentially irreplaceable? I mean, not essentially, you are irreplaceable. Shout out to Ricky. I just love to see couples that are like ride or die like that, right? I know you guys have been rolling for a while together. Was honored to be at the wedding as well, right? I got a little too fucked up, but
I think everyone did. Except me. I was like the pregnant sober one. I'm like, oh, this is fun. Everyone was shit faced. That was a good time. We just were listening to Dr. Dre next episode, and I was telling Emma, this is what me and your dad walked out to.
there you go. So let me just talk a little bit deeper about the culture, right? So you get these little cultural questions. And look, I know enough about it, but like, if you're really trying to get to the center of an issue, you got Bree, you got Liz, and you got Nathan all sitting up in one office. Now Stella, who we pulled up, who's new, but the core there is those 3. So we're having a little cultural debate. I won't put them all out there right now, but so-and-so got fired. Should we carry that product? These 2 people are beefing. What do we want to do there? Generally, we kind of try to stay out of it. But Bree will throw down some pretty strong opinions on that. So I guess, how do you stay in touch so well with the culture? And, when you throw down these opinions, very rarely will I be like, nah, pretty much you got the ball on it, but we'll go in there, just different stuff. Or even if we're going to post something, right, that might, go left or right, like, hey, what do you guys, think of this? So, how is it to kind of have that mantle, and, what do you attribute, like, staying so in touch with what's really going on, on the street on a daily basis, where, like, a lot of people have a lot of knowledge, from the culture from different times, but like just today, knowing kind of both sides of it, what do you attribute that to?
I would think just time, coming up on being 34. So I, really been in the field since I was like 18 with just engaging with brands, meeting reps, meeting owners, touring grows, consulting for people, so I've just through just so networking, I've just managed to meet so many people. I've maintained so many amazing relationships, so many people that I randomly met that are now, really great friends to me. So I would just say throughout the years, it's, oh, let me introduce you to this person. Let me introduce you to this person. So I'm always hearing people's feedback, what's good, what's not good, who's growing what, who's growing for who. So I think that always plays like a huge role in kind of where I put my opinions on for yes or no's.
All right. So the white labeling thing, must say this. Got mad love for X. This is one of the coolest dudes out there. Be real. I don't know him well. Actually, I'm going to be on his show. Hopefully get to know him better. But you could tell he's immersed in part of the culture. Same thing with Exhibit. Any other celebrity?
Mr. X to the Z.
X to the Z. We fuck with him heavy.
Yes.
Any other celebrity brands or celebrity, not even brands, just put that aside. Like, people that are famous, pre-cannabis that have made an impact in your mind?
No. Moon Rocks, maybe back in the trap. Yeah, no one I can think of. You know what? Khalifa Kush, when he dropped, I was really like, damn, he has such a huge following, especially in California. It did really well. Now I feel like it's kind of dropping off. And Wiz, if you're watching, I really think if he would kind of engage more to some capacity, we would start to see his brand do a little more. But I think it's really hard. You can drop it. It has a lot of clout for that little time being, but then it slowly drifts off. It's not very exciting.
If they stay on it. Well, I will say, Booze did really well.
Oh, yeah.
He's super cool. I should have put him in the super
celebrity.
humble. I think of him more as like a local.
Yeah, he's like a Long Beach legend.
Legend, right? Yeah. Not like, global, but, super cool dudes. Product did, really well as well. So here's a fun one. How did you start consuming cannabis?
Since I was young. I would honestly say 14, 13, I remember my mom just being so traumatized and making me watch Dare videos. But I always said, like, weed really does reveal yourself, And so I lost both of my parents at a young age. It was my dad and then my mom. And I always felt like I had such a strong head on my shoulders. Like, for everything I had been through, I never really, went one way or the other. I was always able to, all right, fucking life goes on. You got to keep it moving. But I was smoking a gang of weed. I became awarded to the state. I think I got $1,800 a month and I would just spend it all on weed. I would just, buying and always rolling up, pretty much all I did, my youth. But I always felt like it kind of made me a good person. I always was cautious of how I treated people, how people treated me, people's energies. And then, then the dispensaries opened. I'm like, what the fuck? We never had this luxury before. Before you had to call and you got what you got. There was no picking of strains, picking of, what they were made of or anything like that. You just got what you got. And so it was really interesting to kind of see how the industry has grown, because 10 years ago, I would have never told you I'd be where I was today. You didn't see the longevity in cannabis. So I remember at 25 kind of thinking what the fuck am I doing? I've invested so much time of my life into cannabis and I can't even give a good resume because it's, I had Tantalum on my side. But other than that, I really didn't feel like I was showing what I was capable of doing. And so as legalization started to happen, you really started to see a future in cannabis that I thought was just so amazing. And then, I'm all right, head down, just grinding, trying to move my way up. And it happened. I wasn't going out there asking or anything. I was just letting my work speak for itself.
No, I think that's the ones that have moved their way up. And I think people go about this the wrong way. And look, I always, joke, I started low man at the totem pole when I got into cannabis too. Just be valuable.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up. Don't get in, I don't mean that in the traditional sense, but like, don't be out there saying, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me. Don't get into this politics and all this other stuff. Eventually, the people who are valuable, will move up the hierarchy of what we're trying to do.
Yeah,
right?
I feel like I speak up on important topics. Right. I'm like, yo, you got to hear my opinion on this because it's fucked.
No, you do. I don't mean it like that. I just mean like
what you mean. Some people talk too fucking much.
No, and then they're telling how great they are. Or even worse, they're putting somebody else down, right? And they're like throwing shit. It's like, no, don't worry. We're going to figure it out. No, Bree's very like, I'll walk in there. Let's just do a fun one just for fun.
Okay.
I'll walk in there and Doja's in a little disagreement with the other guy. Why not? Fuck you, why not? Right? And I'm like, oh, you got his back, right? Yeah. Somebody actually, I think it was him. He DM'd me and he thanked me, and I was like, honestly, like that was all Bree, but like, I went along with her opinion, and I've always like I met him once, but seen him from a distance, respect his hustle. Obviously he's doing big things, internationally. So, there's this little disagreement, between partners and, whatever. There's always going to be disagreements. Fuck, I get in plenty of them. I always feel like I'm justified, but, whatever. So I roll in there and I'm like, hey, Bree, do we really want to get involved in this one right here? And just bam, straight away, like, Brian is fucking Doja, da 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 da. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I can't even, like, honestly, anybody that knows the story, like, how the fuck are you going to try to say anyone's, like, that is his brand. That is everything that he's worked for. To try to take that from him, it's like, no, we can't fuck with people like that. And you see it so much in the industry. It's heartbreaking. I hate to see partners come together because it's so good, but it's egos. I feel like this industry has so many egos. I think that's why the women do so well, is we're all like here to support each other, honestly. And a lot of the men, it's like everything I do is like a dick, showing competition. It's like, all right, you're cool. We got it, but it is really cool just when you can see people come together and work together. Alien Labs and Connected have been doing it for so long, and I'm like, damn, shout out to them, because you don't really see that kind of relationships in the industry too much. So it has been cool to see them. But yeah, there is no Doja without Ryan.
No, I know. And and like I said, on those things, and like I'm not even like gonna even try to get in the way of that or cross it. And it made sense to me. And, look, I did actually hear two versions of the story, and this is not a matter of, taking sides or anything like that. But I do think these interesting things, come up, and, I'm walking into the marketing office, we call it basically. I put Bree kind of in her own category, which is like gatekeeper, brand liaison, OG at all things cultural. But walk in there and get my ear down and get the opinion. And what we've, I think, done a really good job of that I could have never done myself, and what makes Catalyst what it is today. Between Bree and Nathan and Liz, bringing the ability to connect to the brands, because I'll be running around, trying to close deals, or maybe I didn't have that relationship or whatever it is. And because of Bree and, Nathan as well, and Liz, they've built those relationships so good that people want to fuck with us. And then like from there, we've been able to kind of build this culture at Catalyst that, the brands seem to be attracted to, want to be a part of, which is, really rewarding. I'm gonna throw another one out there. Why not? Let's just put it all out there. So Humo. Does you want to do Humo? Fuck it. Yeah, I mean,
Team Susie.
So give him the real shit. So look, I didn't have a strong opinion, but and look, I'm friendly with some of the people that promote for them or whatever, and again, no ill will towards anyone. And there's always two stories. But, so Susie steps down from Humo, and, okay, so, what do we all think about that? And it wasn't just Bree on this one, by the way. There was a long line, and it wasn't just the girls, but there was a very, speaking of sticking together, the solidarity among the women at Catalyst was strong. So let's talk a little bit about that and when it ended up happening to Humo. And let me just say this before we get into it. No disrespect to Humo. I had a cordial conversation with the CEO, and just I think it's an interesting story. And if we're going to do these podcasts, we might as well look under the hood a little bit and get into the real shit that might interest people. So, and I think somebody thanked me for that one too. And I'm real honest about it. I'm like, I wasn't fucking getting in the way of that one. Like, I'm not going to have, the women of Catalyst, chop my head off. I'd let it be. But, like when another situation like that arises, how does that one look in your mind?
That one was really disappointing because the way that she represented her entire team, down to all of her owners, just everything, she always spoke so highly of them. The way that she articulates herself is just next level, especially in cannabis. And then the way that she just like really highlighted the Latino community and made it so inclusive to everyone. I think so much when you look at that, everyone goes very stereotypical. You see the Day of the Dead skulls, the Cortezes, and she really did such a great job about highlighting everybody from the culture and really making it inclusive to everyone. Just the way she spoke, the platforms that she did. And she never once tried to like take that and I did this, she was always highlighting her entire team. She was a brand partner. She helped develop the brand. She helped, name the strains. She helped put together the marketing package. She was the backbone of Humo. And even when I met with them and all their partners, she's told the same story she told in front of them to me. So then when they let her go and the way that they tried to kind of twist it to, oh, she was a toxic female. Well, she wasn't in March when you guys were highlighting her for all the women's posts and when you're plaquing her face on MedMen and when you're doing all these things. And they were like, she was trying to claim she was the owner. And I'm like, wow, she walked away so gracefully. And she even to this day, she's not dragging them. She's hurt by, the entire situation. And we 1,000% stand behind her because the way it went upon, there was no reason to let her go. If there's situations where you need to fix, but they could have just been like, unfortunately she's going her own way. We didn't have to do this, but it was like going to try to trigger her. Or, oh, she's lying. Remember all the things they tried to say that she's telling us? And I'm like, she's never said any of that, that we stood behind her because she was so passionate and such a great leader in this industry. Everything that she did with us, just putting her face out there. And I'm like, she really elevated the entire community so much when you listen to her talk and everything. So the way that they let her go and the way that they dragged it, I think now that they're kind of kicking themselves in the ass, they're like, we can do this without her. Let's show them. And
apparently we're the only ones that, because someone told me recently, again, someone I really like, we're the only ones that ended up dropping them, not saying anybody.
There are others. Yes,
yeah. Well, then that was fake news. And
yeah,
but look, it's an actually interesting part of having the shelf. We try not to abuse it. But it is interesting, right? Because, people really want to be on it. So it puts you in this position of like, you're picking winners and losers at the end of the day. My take is it's almost entirely merit-based, but we do have some, brands, A, that we won't carry. And then B, like if we partner with somebody, I'm automatically going to give you the chance. And I always tell them the same thing, hey, I'll give you the chance. Like one we wouldn't carry even before we started, fucking with them was Glass House. And,
never. Never. I'd ask Herbal when they used to bring him to the meetings. I'm like, bro, don't even show me this.
No. And look, I met with Kyle and Graham on several occasions. And they were always really friendly, and they
wanted shelf space.
They were very respectful. Like I'm not like going out of my way to put them down, but we drew that line there just because look, it's not what we wanted to stand for, and they're doing their thing, whatever. And this is before they just went nuts and wanted to add another 1 million feet of canopy and blah blah blah. We won't make it about Glass House, but nonetheless, we cut the line there. What's getting interesting. And we've discussed this internally, and I don't know where you draw the line, right? We kind of want to just like, can we go full Chad free? Then nobody's a purist. You look at the numbers. There's been a few that have been discussed that are like kind of on the fence that would, maybe one day we'll get to them. But, it's always, my favorite thing is like, it's not my favorite, but I'll be like, hey, I just met this guy, or hey, they're doing a lot of good stuff, or hey, we're going to partner with them. And look, if we partner with them, we are going to make a legitimate effort to try to sell whatever they have. And like the most heartbreaking thing, like I'll look at it and be like, looks okay, but we'll see. Then I'll take it into Bree. She'll be like, it's trash. And I'm like, damn.
People are going to think I'm so mean. I don't say that to anyone's face.
No. Your favorite word though, I think it is trash.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you'll say it's good. It's pretty good.
I'm like, yeah.
But it's and then it's like, fuck. Now we know we're going to carry it. And I'm probably one of the worst offenders. Like
you are the worst offender. You're the only offender.
Yeah, no, I know. And it's like, but I really like them or whatever. And so it's this hard thing to learn. And again, like I said, if we're your partner or if we're fucking in the trench with you, we're going to do the best we can. But at some point, if it's not selling, it's not selling, right? You either got to move the price point or, you know, do whatever. And even if I sit up there and beat my chest, like I don't really move the needle, you know, the budtenders in the end are the ones that sell it. So, you know, we'll put it on. And then, you know, as we've looked at recently we've gone back through and like, you know, I'm looking at kind of how the numbers are rolling and it's like, we should be making a little bit of money this month, but more is going out. So we're looking, we're carrying like 50 days worth of inventory. You know, in theory, we pay at 30, but we probably average 35, 36. If I'm being perfectly honest, you know, you got to invoice us every once in a while. We take an extra day or two. But the problem is, as we get bigger, you know, we're carrying this extra 15, 20 days of inventory. This is 7 figures worth of extra inventory. So we do our best to scale it down. And then some of these debates they're just heart-wrenching debates. And then by the time you get it down to 124 or whatever we got, 130 was the final number.
Oh, we're at 123 right now.
123.
Yeah. We dropped 53 brands.
Yeah, it's just tough.
Yeah. And we're telling them, like, you know, it's obviously Will moving up, everyone onboarding, everything, 710, all the new stores opening. I wish we could keep everyone, and it wasn't anything, but really relationships are huge. If we're not building a relationship together, then you know, literally there's thousands of people beating on our doors to get on. Niche products are always really hard because we want to have those cool SKUs that aren't very popular, but then also we just don't have the time span. Like all small businesses, we're really tiny too. So
what a lot of people don't understand is because we carry so many brands, that actually takes a lot of manpower and woman power to do. And so if you order whatever it is, 1,000 of 10 different SKUs, that takes just as much time to order 10 of 10 different SKUs, right? So we got to push all these smaller orders. So we do actually have to have more labor and more work at the distro. And every time we add a brand or I do a favor, purchasing just looks like you fucking asshole, right?
Yeah, because
like,
I think so many people are like, just one store.
One store.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, that's a whole nother invoice, a whole nother pricing docket, like just all the back end that goes to creating that product, that SKU, educating the customer on that. And a lot of times, you know, the one-off, two-offs, the ones that are really trying their hardest with you are the ones that they come on and we're like, hey, remember us? You were begging Elliot to be on the shelf.
I'll say what, though, we've been proven wrong a few times. My favorite example to go to is Clone Guy. He's done really well. And I was actually reluctant to carry the clones. He started out trolling me a little bit. Like,
he called you a carnival barker.
Yeah. I actually like that story because I am a little bit of a carnival barker. Like, he kind of had me there.
Was it from Planet 13 that he started that?
I don't know. Maybe something. I don't know how it happened. Okay. But then I responded. He brought his product in. Everybody's like, wow, it's really well priced and it's good flour. And then, you know, I hit him up like, hey, man, you know, I see why you got a chip on your shoulder. I got a fucking chip on my shoulder. I understand, right? You're just out there battling. We've become really good friends. His wife's super cool, family owned. He's got like the niece and the son in there. I might be getting the relatives a little bit wrong. And he's been, you know, pretty successful on our shelf, and we've become, friends every time we, you know, see each other. So there's always like a hidden surprise out there, but it's super hard to sift through them. And, you know, now when I'm getting hit up, you know, I got the convenient 710, like, oh yeah, get me after 710. I'm thinking like, shit, 7-Eleven, here they come again. I know Bree's line is like, just not taking anybody on new this quarter, but I know sincerely, like, we do the absolute best we can. And I think the SKUs is in the thousands, like what, 4,000 or 5,000 SKUs?
Yeah.
Yes.
And if we had stores, all of our stores were like Pomona, we could entertain all those brands. Right. But when you look at like Mid-City or Costa Mesa or these stores where I'm dealing with like this much space to showcase all my edibles, all my vapes, all my pre-rolls, pre-roll packs, it's difficult. That's really where it's limiting. And I think that's when everyone's like really fighting for those shelf space, because we do, out of our 123 brands, I'm really only bringing on 60 or 70 to the smaller stores. So it's really hard to kind of navigate through. And then before we were, you know, we really knew our demographic in Orange County and Long Beach. And now it's like, fuck, what does Watsonville want to smoke? Right. What's Palm Desert? What are the IE people are up to, you know?
It is interesting how like they each, like, there's definitely a lot of similarities, but they each end up with their own.
Oh yeah, brands. Like, you see one brand just dominating in one store and like, what? They weren't over here. It is very interesting to kind of see what the different neighborhoods are into.
No, for sure. And I think it's having our own self distro now makes it so it's a little bit easier for the flow. But I'll say this, like, everybody thinks it's easy to onload a brand. It's a lot of work. It comes with a lot of SKUs, and then the team gets hit with the work. So anytime, and again, I'm definitely the worst offender. I just tend to, like, if I like them, I want to see if we can get them on. And then, purchasing is the one working the, 12, 13 hour days, and distro. And it's like, they're always like, fuck, just stop, bro. So we do the best we can, but it is definitely one of the, the hardest things that we deal with. Let's talk a little bit about the future here. So we're trying the 7 stores in 7 weeks. I was crying a little bit at the beginning. I'm actually getting in a little bit of better mood as this thing goes on. But look, we're going to get it done. It's really hard to get them open. What do you think that's going to be like? Do you think we think we're going to be able to, level up, make it happen?
Fuck yeah, there's nothing we can't do. I mean, literally, shout out to our whole team. I think every single department is just beasts with what they do. We're lean and mean, so we all put our heads down and work. And I think it's cool because everyone really stays in their lane. We all know what our strong suits are and where we can grow. So that's been really interesting to see. Ops is crushing it, just knocking out all these new stores. Purchasing, having to upkeep with the 18 stores we have active, plus getting 19 ready, 20 ready. Like, we're like, oh fuck, okay, trying to prepare the menus for all the new stores opening, marketing, just always on the computers, just building out all these beautiful profiles and flyers, and engaging with different ways of how we can get active with our communities. So everyone's just doing such a great job, and I feel like that's why we're really able to come in strong to all these new neighborhoods and really being able to do it. The amount of people we have on our team for what we do is mind-boggling.
Right. Of course, I'm biased. I think we got the best team on the planet.
We do.
I think we do. And like, look, we got people just going all in, and it's really hard to get that, kind of buy-in. So just, I'm eternally grateful for everybody that we have on staff. And one commonality has been of people that we have had on, that are on the vendor side that are still alive. Every single one has the buy-in, right?
Yeah.
Whereas, some of the MSOs that have left the state, and, I'm not going to knock them too hard. I actually grabbed one of their assets. It will be announced soon, but and again, it's, these could be fine companies or whatever, but they're either top heavy, or they didn't go all in, or they didn't start with this organic growth thing, right? So like, also just you're putting those big boys aside, even the California companies that didn't make it, they built this really like fancy executive staff, and got all these heavy hitters from this place or that place, or Gap, Urban Outfit, whatever it is, and then they try to build a business under those people. And I think that's been that concept is this objectively failed, right? Time and time again. And the ones that seem to have succeeded, and I could rattle off 20, either started, in the 215 days and then built their way up, or, they've started lean and right-sized their business and moved their way into it. And I think that we've been super lucky to be able to, do a good job of that. And if not for that, we definitely wouldn't be standing here today. And then, I could say this, not just because, Bree's here, like, good luck trying to fucking find somebody. Like, let's say you're Joe fucking Karen or Chad, and you're headhunting, right? Good luck trying to find a Bree, right? Like, yeah. They're just not fucking out there, right? And if you're looking for them, right, they're probably at the stores. And so, besides us being 50% women or so, more or less, I might be off a couple percent, but it's about half and half now. I think about half the people, interns, or, from the stores that have worked their way up, and those people are way more valuable. And I think Bree is a great example, not just because she's sitting here, of somebody that, like, you couldn't match her knowledge of product and culture and ability if you would have, put out, whatever fucking monster.com, Indeed, and, try to headhunt it. So, I think that way, we've been fortunate. We've been forced to grow that way. But in hindsight, it's actually the only way to do it. And then, when somebody like Bree interfaces with the brands, she's going to get more brand support. She's going to get, maybe a little bit more favorable pricing. And, I think there's, versus if they know we're struggling and they were doing the best we can, and they know we're marking up small and we're trying to do it the right way. So I think that also gives us a little bit of an edge, when we do need to sit down and have that tough conversation, like, look, we're trying to do the best we can. Could you help us out here? I'll just ask you 2 general questions. What's your least favorite part of the job? Then I'll go to the good side of it.
I think having to say no to everyone. There's so many great, amazing sales reps out there, so many great owners, and so many people that are trying to get on the shelves, and it's nothing personal. That's probably the hardest part. I've heard rumors of like, Bree hates me. Bree doesn't like me.
I've heard those.
And I'm like, I don't even remember our last conversation. And I'm sorry. Sometimes I'm busy. But I don't think there's honestly anyone that I'd be like, I don't like that person in this industry. It's just, we're really fucking busy. So nothing personal. I think that was the hardest part, is I think a lot of people take it personal because they're like, the other sales reps like, Bree's my homie. Like, I'll get you on. And it's like, it's not that easy, bro. I got lines and lines of people just the waiting list to get on. It's
they'll sometimes try to end around you too and get to me like, I don't think Bree likes me. And I already know, like, well, she probably doesn't like your product.
Yeah. And I told them that too, because there's somewhere I'm like, I promise you, I will not bring this product on, and then that way they know right. Exactly where my thought is. I'm not just leading you on. Some I'm like, dude, I really like this. Just right now is not the time, So it's kind of what's happening at our stores, what's going on. And I think coming back from maternity leave last year and then like Q3, Q4, I tell everyone that like when Connected came in with that 50% off, I'm like, they're fucking my shelves right now. I told them that too. They were cannibalizing all my other brands and just taking everyone's share. So that was like a really rough time. I feel bad for some of the brands that we did try to onboard during that time, because it was just everyone else was like having to BOGO to kind of stay alive. So I would say the end of the year was kind of a little different. And every quarter, every year, it has just been a complete opposite from the next, going into like,
I wish we had one of those graphs just to be like how it, rose and fall. And like, if we can't say something that's clear, like, it's never personal. At the end of the day, we have to make, tough decisions on what we think will sell. And then the promise I always give to somebody when they give me product, and we try to give everybody a hearing that we can, is I'll give you the honest feedback, right? And a lot of times too, I'll just be like, don't give me the pricing sheet. I'll take it in and, tell you and give you the honest feedback. And sometimes the best thing you could say to that person is like, hey, your product's not there. Because the worst thing you could really do is say, hey, it's pretty good, but maybe 2 quarters later, you're not helping them go back and perfect their craft or tweak it. Like, no matter what it is, and myself's included in this, like if I'm doing something stupid, which they'll tell me, right? Like, I want to know. I don't want yes people going like, oh, that's a good idea, you should go do that, when I'm about to, get myself into some trouble or do whatever else, I've been known to do from time to time. All right. So what's your favorite part about the working at Catalyst?
I would say probably our team.
Yeah.
Like I love our team. I love our brands. So it makes it almost not feel like work, even though it's, like I said, it's hard. I probably cry once a week. The relationships that we've built from this is amazing to see. The support that we get from brands, I would say it has to be the best part.
Yeah. And then, seeing, by the way, I'm going to give Nate D a shout out right now.
Shout out
every time, that's like his favorite line. Oh yeah, I told you Bree was the one. I'm like, it's like, you did say it. I was kind of leaning that way already. Yeah. But just to see like, because it's really hard to launch a new product. And I'll DM him and text him and shit. And he sends me the headset numbers, and I'm like, fuck, bro. You're killing it.
I told him from the beginning he had a winning product on his hand. Proprietary batteries are always such a difficult one and kind of hard to get to. But ever since he started showing me those, I was just like, these are amazing. Like, these are going to be such a big hit. I even told him, dude, I feel like I'm a sales rep for you, because I'll be out at dinner like, look at these little things. And they have the solventless ones coming out. Their live resins are so good, and just seeing them absolutely skyrocket on our shelves.
And he knows how to move around the store, and without getting too deep into it, he's got some 215 experience that actually we have together. And then from there, he's run the stores, and then he's been a salesperson. And the other really cool part about Caleb is just a friend and a mentor. Speaking of like not having egos, and maybe why them and Ted Buds get along so well.
Alien Labs.
Sorry. Well, Alien Labs and Ted. Oh yeah. Sorry. Ted from Alien Labs.
A shout out to Ted too.
Yeah. And sorry. But we kind of broke out and did our own thing. And Kayla's been nothing but a cheerleader. You know, same thing as Nate D. And him and Kayla have been running, you know, well before I showed up in the mix. And just, you know, same thing. We always want to applaud, you know, those that are, you know, go out, end up doing their own thing. And it's just really cool to see. And I think the product first is super important. But if anybody out there, since he has been in basically every position that you could have, he understands what levers to move and what buttons to push and who's moving the products and how to style out the bud tenders. And he's a fucking hustler. He's out there, you know, working hard. So that's like, you don't see a lot of new brands coming out of nowhere and then, you know,
taking off like that. And I'm always looking, like, that's another thing. If you're watching, I'm always looking for something we don't already have. I get the same menu with the same products. I can't tell you how many infused 5-gram packs I get a day, you know? I don't want to see the same thing. So, you know, once I see something unique or that we don't already have, then I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, we have a gap to be fulfilled.
And then just overall trends. I don't know even exactly where we are on the time. It says 7:12 what time we start, but we'll overall
3 minutes.
Oh, see, I'm like got a clock in my head right there. So just overall trends, like, what do you think, like, if you had to predict, like, you know, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, just on a product level, is it going to move in one direction, you know, or like, is, you know, for what, is flour becoming less popular, pre-wool? Like, what, you know, I obviously see the kind of the data roll in, but like, where do you think?
I think flour will always be dominant.
Yeah.
That's the daddy of the, you know, without it, no other products could be created.
Yeah.
So I think flour will always be one. One thing that I've been looking really hard for is like a good rosin vape. And I feel like there's really no one that's been able to master it. So I think it's going to have to be a hardware company kind of coming in and making it to where it's like individualized dabs, you know, so it's separating the oil. But I think that would be something really cool. Tried a ton of rosin disposables, carts, vapes, and just like nothing I've had has really like ever come close to matching what an actual dab is off of a rig. So I think that'll be something I'm dying to see if we can max. And I think it's going to come down to the hardware.
Yeah. So, you know, I promised Bree I wouldn't ask her what her favorite product is.
Okay. I thought you were going to tell me brand.
Or brand. I won't ask. I kind of do want to ask, like, what do you smoke on at home? But we can't go there.
I smoke pretty much at home. It's all rosin.
Right.
And I do smoke a lot of flour too. I do smoke a lot of flour, but I would say rosin's like my baby. I like it. It gives me more of an energy buzz. I think so many people that don't smoke either are always like, oh, I don't do dabs. I remember even Anna, she was like, oh no. And then once you try it, you're like, wait, this is so, like, I get a buzz from it and I'm, you know, moving. I remember I kind of took a break from weed for a little. And then when I went back to it, I was like, damn, I'm really high. Like, I'm having a hard time moving and functioning. And I was just, and then Hashels have been amazing. I'm getting the best of both worlds. So I've really been enjoying those, but I'm definitely a dabber.
I'll say this.
Space Jams, I think, you know, I know we weren't going to talk brands, but that's one I'm consistent with. Like, I really like
easy just because it's, you know, whatever. That's an easy one.
Shout out to the other hardworking mama in the industry. Wendy's a fucking beast.
But look, the, you know, I think the other kind of cool part about our HQ, like, I don't know what it is, half-ish or so again, you know, walk into the office, dab rigs out. But guess what? We're getting our shit done. We're still rocking. I'm not a daytime smoker. I'm a nighttime smoker, but it's not for me to say what's your most effective way to get through the day. It's performance only, but you know, the dab rigs out.
Yeah, our whole team, we're just the whole day, but getting shit done.
Getting it done, yeah.
So by any means necessary, it's how we keep our, you know, heads level, I think.
Yeah, and it definitely, like, I've seen it. We're wrapping up, so I won't tell the long version of the story. But it's definitely a real thing. I think that there's a lot of people out there that are more productive as we put together this, you know, team of Spartans, I like to call it. There's no doubt that, you know, cannabis plays a part in it. And I like the new office because it's bigger. There's more space. Like, we're not worried about our neighbors.
Yeah, our neighbors can't tell us to not smoke Hashels in the middle of the afternoon.
Yeah, we got the concrete ceiling. So, you know, whatever we want to do, you know, we could do there. So, look, you know, just going to wrap it up here. I think this puts us on 10, but I think it's important. You know, obviously Bree's got a great story, you know, her roots, where she's come from, you know, how valuable of an asset she is to Catalyst. I always say that, you know, she's irreplaceable, one of the most valuable people that we have. And to hear her perspective on why, you know, certain brands are making it, why they're not, a little bit behind the scenes. I didn't know I was going to go into Susie and Doja, but I think they're, interesting stories of some of the stuff that...
and they're both passionate about what they do. And I think that's what I really align with.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think they're interesting stories of some of the stuff that, comes out on the daily. But look, appreciate Bree coming on. She was a little hesitant. I don't know if that's the ladies of Catalyst thing. Maybe they're just more humble. But
We'll see how it does.
I thought it was fire.
Yeah.
But that's basically all we got. I just want to give a shout out to Bree. She's doing it all. She's the gatekeeper, super valuable at Catalyst. And in addition to that, she's a mother of one, about to be a mother of two. Shout out to Ricky for when he dials in. Just one of the real ones out there. That's all we got. Weed for the People, episode 10, Weed for the People.